Okay.
I used to get various. My parents had bought me, Ernie and Cookie Monster and all the characters for Christmas and birthday presents. So I had built up quite a large puppety sort of family in my bedroom, along with the magic stuff. And then a few years later, I was given a book on how to become a ventriloquist.
Oh,
so it
that's
was
how you transitioned.
So I learned. I got quite good at the magic, but I'd always been interested in ventriloquism. I didn't really understand it. I saw a British ventriloquist on TV when I was about 14 or 15, who absolutely just blew me away. I just never seen anything like it, and I thought, wow, that's puppetry, which I loved, and comedy, and you could be, because the only puppetry I knew was like the Muppets and Jim Henson, and was people hiding underneath the table and sticking their hands above their heads with the puppets on. Totally. I didn't realise you could do. Be in vision with the puppetry. So you're the puppeteer and the puppet's in vision, and you're doing ventriloquism. So you have to learn to obviously not make your mouth move and keep it still.
That's another thing I need to ask you about.
It's a bit technical.
That to me is mind blowing. I went the Queen Mary. Have you ever heard of the Queen Mary?
I performed on the Queen Mary a number of times.
I saw you on the Queen Mary.
Did you?
I swear on my life, I saw you with my Nana and Papa.
Wow!
And it was
that's a few years ago.
Years ago, yes. And that's why when this came about and they called me to tell you the interview, I got so excited. I was like, I know I saw him.
Yes.
And you were phenomenal.
Thank
and your
you.
mouth did not move.
Well,
I don't understand it.
That kind of is the thing with ventriloquism. You have to try not to let it move too much.
But how, in your personal opinion, if I right now wanted to try to do that?
You have to just practice. I took 2 years to get the basics, and you just learn to keep your mouth shut or keep a slight gap, because obviously the air and the sound's got to get out of your mouth, and you would just say, I'll do it in my normal voice. I would just say, hello, Nikki, hello, and then you do it in a silly voice.
Hello.
Oh my God.
Hello. Oh my God, that's so cool.
That is so cool.
That is so cool.
And you basically you learn to speak again, but without moving your lips and keeping that movement to a minimum.
You took the 2 years though. You had to learn the.
Yeah, it could take anyone anytime. It took me, I'd say, 2 years to get the basics, and I've been doing it for 27 years, something like that now. And so I think you're always improving and always getting better, I think.
Absolutely. Now, to go to another outlet, I know that you are on America's Got Talent. I want to, if you don't mind, I'd love to talk to you about that.
I'd like to talk to you about it, Nikki.
I'd love to talk to you about that. So, being the winner of the 10th season, I mean, that is such a phenomenal, it must be a phenomenal experience. In your opinion, what was that like for you?
It was a funny experience, really. It was quite surreal, because, I entered the competition and I just thought, well, I was living in the UK, living in London, from London, and I thought I'll try the competition somewhere else. So if it doesn't work out, no one will know about it back home. And my first audition went out, and the reaction was really good. And then I got through to the live shows, and then people started hearing about it back home in the UK, because you forget about social media. Everybody knows everything all the time now.
Yeah.
So you can't really hide. So I just sort of embraced it and went with it. I never expected in a million years to win the show. Wow. But I knew I was going down well, and the reaction and the feedback had been amazing, particularly on social media at the time. And I thought, at the time I was in the quarterfinals, I felt like I stood a good chance of getting into the finals. I never expected to win it, and so when I did, my surprise, that look of absolute, it was a mixture of euphoria and jet lag, to be honest, because I'd been flying backwards and forwards between the UK and here.
Oh gosh! Okay.
And so it was a genuine reaction, and I genuinely was absolutely bowled over by it, and it was amazing, and I felt like I'd been sort of welcomed with open arms in this country, and and now being able to tour the States, and I worked in Vegas for 6 months after the show, and touring all over this country, and it's just such an amazing country. You forget how big it is. There's so much here. I'm on a 2 week tour at the moment, and I started in Phoenix the other night, and now I'm here in New York State, and then we're going up to Syracuse tomorrow, and then I'm on to, I forget where I am, California again on Tuesday, and then Detroit into Ontario, and going into Canada, and you just forget how big this place is.
It's so true.
Yeah,
it's very true.
But it's so lovely to be able to go to different places, and the people's reaction is that they remember the show, they remember seeing me on AGT, so it's been a huge help.
So do you enjoy touring? Would you say it's something you like doing?
I love doing it. I love traveling. I always have done. And you're saying working on the Queen Mary. I've been on cruise ships on and off for a long time, and you get to see a lot of the world there. So I've been lucky. I've been able to see a lot of the world. There's lots of places I haven't been to, but I like it as opposed to I was in Vegas at Planet Hollywood for 6 months, and again that was an incredible experience on the back of winning America's Got Talent. I got 3 nights there. And then the producers from the venue saw me and said, I think this guy should have his own show. So then I got a separate contract and ended up living in Vegas for nearly 8 months. And that was incredible. But I love traveling, and so I'm happiest at the moment.
That's awesome. I mean, I think traveling is living.
I do.
Experiencing other cultures, meeting other people.
Totally.
It's phenomenal. That's amazing. Wow. I wanted to talk to you about your puppets. If I'm allowed.
What do you want to know?
So I know Sam.
Yes.
And he has an Uncle Albert.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the inspiration for these puppets, did they come from anywhere specifically, or is it in your mind, just kind of? They're
all kind of weird versions of me, I suppose. But,
okay.
Sam is the longest character I've had, and so he's I guess he's. He's the kid in all of us. We all have a childish side. I've got a particularly childish side. And that manifests itself in various ways through Sam. And with a puppet, you can get away with so much more. It's difficult for me to call someone ugly in the front row, whereas somehow a puppet can get away with it if it's done in a cheeky, funny way.
Right.
And I guess he's just the kid, and I like observing people. I like people watching. I like observing, the way kids behave. My sister has my nephew. My sister has a 7-year-old, and he gives me great ideas. Kids annoying you all the time, and like for example, I do a routine where Sam is copying me. And you know how kids do that. I used to do it when I was a kid. Annoy the hell out of my mum. And you start.
We all did.
Well, exactly. And you start testing, don't you? Seeing how far you can push it in everyday life. And so Sam would start copying me. Start copying me. No, don't copy me now. No, don't copy me now. Stop it. Stop it. It's really annoying. It's really annoying. So that's that. I kind of think that my humour is sort of based on sort of real life stuff, and my old man character is called Albert. Albert's 90 years old now, and he still chases the women. He just can't remember why.
Okay,
and
good
so
for him. He still got it.
Yeah, and he's my father is kind of turning into Albert. His hearing is going. My father's hearing is going. Albert's very deaf, and it's seeing the funny side of growing old, really. And so they're all kind of characters that you can kind of identify with, I think, to a point. Right,
and I guess maybe you've taken some inspiration from your family. Would you say?
My dad says funny things all the time, and it's all about mishearing. So I have lots of dialogue in the show with Albert where he just mishears what I've said, and he's constantly asking me to repeat it. But it's kind of he's clever because he's got selective deafness, so he's deaf when he wants to be, but he's very clued up. Really, he knows what's going on. He's working me really.
So he's the one in the control. He's controlling the show.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Would you say he's the star of the show?
I'd say he has a big piece of the show. I'd say probably the stars of the show. In the current show that I'm touring, I have a man and a woman couple up on stage, and they become my human puppets. And so I put these radio-controlled mouths on them, which I control and I'm voicing, and I get them to do crazy things on stage. Oh. And so they're the stars of the show. They're people from the audience, and they are genuinely people plucked out of the audience, and they have no idea they're going to be in the show.
Oh, really?
And I make sure they obviously want to be in the show. There's no point having someone on stage who doesn't want to be there.
Right, of course.
And so I get them singing and dancing, and that's probably one of the sort of highlights of the show, I guess. I don't know. I like to have it. It's got a bit of a structure, and it's got a beginning, middle, and an end. But I think my human volunteers are probably the biggest part of the show.
Right. I've heard that it's not to sit in the front row with you. Now,
in any comedy show, if you are sitting in the front row, if you're sitting in the front row, then I suppose you kind of expect. I would think
easy targets?
Well, I guess so. Yeah, yes, cheap laughs. Yeah, nothing clever, just cheap laughs.
I was wondering, is there maybe a method to the madness, like with the front row?
No, it's just it's good to have some people to sort of bounce off and to attack, really. in a funny way, in a fun, nice way. None of it's malicious. It's not horrible.
Yes,
That's not what I'm about. It's about having a good time. And I think that people who come and see a comedy show, they know that there might be a chance that they'll be involved in the show if they're sitting in the front row.
That's so true. That's so true. The comedy shows that I've gone to, like, I've known, like, okay, don't sit in the front row.
Yeah.
Because, well, unless I want to have some fun, though, it could be fun.
Yes.
And you get the audience involved.
Absolutely. And so no show is ever quite the same. Even though I have the structure, I know what I'm doing, I know where I'm going with the show. It's always different because of people's reactions.
Right. Do you find, is there a certain place or town or state or that has been maybe a particular favorite place you've gone?
I mean, to play Vegas, it was an amazing experience, and it's kind of the entertainment capital of the world, isn't it? Really.
Sure.
So I've played Vegas. I found it quite hard work at first, though, because the audience is so different. Whereas if you go to a place, you know that that's the place you're going to. You're going to whether it be Arizona or New York State, or up into Canada or whatever. I don't know, you kind of know where you are. Whereas Vegas, everyone comes to you and they're from all over the place. So you have a real kind of, it's a melting pot of different...
diverse.
Totally diverse, yeah. So I found it quite difficult adjusting at first. I got the hang of it and I understood what worked and what didn't.
Right.
But, with comedy, you learn quite quickly what doesn't work.
Right.
When there's silence.
That dreadful silence.
Yeah, so you keep working until you find it.
You and comedy, so it started young for you, and it's been a passion for your whole life.
And my parents were both trained as actors, and then went to work in the BBC back in London, and so me and my sister were brought up in sort of studios and in the performing environment, and so I guess it was kind of in the blood, really. When I said to my parents, I'm going to be a ventriloquist, They didn't go, of course you are, we expect nothing less, but they encouraged it. They wanted me to get some education, get exams, do all my exams. And I wasn't interested in education at all, really. I mean, I did drama and English, and I got good results in drama and English. And
Did you say drama?
Drama.
Oh, drama. I'm sorry.
Theatre.
I was like, drama.
It's my accent.
The drums. I was like,
it's my accent, darling.
I love it, though.
It's
I
drama.
have family in London.
Oh, you
actually,
do?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Whereabouts?
My uncle, I have two uncles. They live in London, in the city.
Mm-hmm.
They live in the city. I went a couple years ago.
Yes.
And I wanted to get away, and I wanted to see my family. And then I have my cousin Laura's in Cambridge.
Oh, okay.
And
beautiful.
It's
a great place, isn't it?
Well, I was obsessed. Like, I love London for its architecture, the history.
Yeah.
I mean, it's phenomenal.
Yeah.
You see buildings.
Yes, it's quite spectacular, isn't it?
You don't see that around here.
No. It's so different.
Phenomenal. I mean, definitely experience for me. I went there when I was a baby.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. I came back speaking fluent British, though.
Give me your best British accent now. Go for it.
Oh, no. Okay. Wait a minute. Oh. Would you like some grape poupon?
That's good. That's very good. And if you want to sound posh,
yes.
If you want to sound posh like Prince Charles, you say the word "ears" for yes. Prince Charles, would you like to play polo? Ears. So and that's how you say ears. Ears for yes. Would you like to play polo? Ears. And that's a posh way of saying yes. And then if you want to get posher, you say...
You get posher.
Yeah, you change in the word, you change an O for an I. So you say, instead of O changes to an I, so it would be not house, but heis. Is your heis worth thousands and thousands of pounds? Is.
So you have to just manipulate the words around.
That's how you sound. You just change the voice, and it's like ventriloquism. You change the shape of your mouth to create the sounds without moving your lips. He brought it back to ventriloquism. It was such a link.
You
so
see
slick.
That is full circle. I have a full circle here. Okay. So do you feel like now having a British accent? Well, I guess just like having any other accent. Was it more difficult to go into could you speak like American accent right now from like a Long Island accent?
I find the whole dialect thing very confusing. I don't quite understand it. I do that sort of generic kind of hi, how are you? I do that sort of.
That's really
good. Is it? Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, great. I was sitting next to this lovely lady yesterday and her dog on the flight from Phoenix to JFK, and she had a very kind of New York New York accent,
Heavy.
and I wanted to just video her because she was she had great sound, great look, and great voice.
Yeah.
But I felt that would be rude. But she had that. I can't really do it, but it was that. It was almost the start of kind of Seinfeld, Seinfeld type
yes.
New York accent, which I
and
love.
then there's the Valley Girl.
Yeah, what's that?
Like, oh my God, I can't take it anymore.
Oh, okay.
How does life work this way?
Okay.
Okay.
That's you have to have the mouth a bit more open, a bit wider for that.
That kind of drives me crazy. That particular.
And this is so what is your accent?
You know, I like to feel that I don't have a heavy duty Long Island accent, but when I get a little angry, it tends to come out.
Does it? Go on, get angry now.
No. No, but it would, all of a sudden I'll start talking, like this, or the Queens, or because my father's Israeli, and then my mother is from New York, so I grew up with a little bit of a different situation there.
Yes.
So I like to feel I don't have a heavy typical Long Island accent.
Yes.
I don't, so I try to, if I find myself going too far with it, to hold myself back.
Yeah.
Don't go too far.
I think people when they're angry, angry or drunk, that's when the true accent comes out.
And the truth.
And the truth.
You notice that for some reason?
Yeah.
Isn't that something? Well, oh God, it's been such an honor. Paul, thank you.
Likewise, it's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. Could you do a couple little quick, maybe Albert or Sam, or give me something?
Yes.
Albert, yes. Albert, say hello to Nikki.
What?
Say hello. Who? To Nikki.
What?
Nikki.
Huh?
Nikki. Nikki.
Albert.
No, not me. No, this is Nikki.
Oh, I like her. You know I can give her something you younger than can't.
What's that?
A good night's sleep.
Sorry about that.
That was amazing. I feel so honored and special that he spoke to me. Oh, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. And I'm going to stick around. I can't wait to see you perform again. You are phenomenal, and I'm really looking forward to
What time is the show tonight?
Yes, the show.
What time is it?
It's going to start at, 8 o'clock tonight? Right?
Is it 8? Oh,
We're starting at 8.
that's good to know.
I know.
I'll be ready for 8.
Make sure. Listen, when all else fails, when you start hearing a lot of people,
Yes.
just go out.
Go on.
Just go
on stage at the Paramount Theatre.
Bring Albert, bring Sam.
I'll do my thing.
Thank you so much again.
Pleasure, Nikki.
Really,
Thank you.
Such a pleasure. I feel I've learned so much about you.
Well, you've learned nothing really. It's all an act.
No, it's the truth. I believe it all. I believe it all. Thank you, my friend.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Oh, that was wonderful. Thank you.